Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about two thriller films called Megan and Elevation. Enjoy your viewing.
A little girl, Katie, is riding in a car with her parents through a snowstorm. She is playing with a toy given to her by her caring Aunt Gemma, who works for a company that produces such toys. The toy is creating an unhealthy atmosphere in the confined interior, so the mother orders the girl to put the tablet down. The father tries to maneuver carefully on the slippery road. The car stops to wait for a vehicle to clear the road. The wait doesn't last long, as a multi-ton truck suddenly emerges from the snow and crashes into the car. The scene moves to the interior of a toy company, where marketers are carefully studying the level of children's satisfaction with toys. Gemma, Katie's aunt, works here, and together with her colleagues, she is developing a new prototype, an android robot with artificial intelligence named Megan. A silicone face mask has arrived for her. Putting it on, the engineers test her emotions, but it ends in a facial expression error. Suddenly, the boss David and his assistant come to check on them. The boss is unhappy that his subordinates have missed all the deadlines for creating the toy. A new model of the robot, cheaper to produce, is needed by the weekend. Counterfeit analogs have already flooded the market and compare favorably with the cost, so the management is furious. Gemma seizes the opportunity to show David the nearly completed robot model, which is ready to communicate with its creator. She hopes to ask for funding for this project. During testing, the central processing unit first melts and then explodes. The explosion did not hurt people, but it made David very angry. He orders the project to be put on hold and focus on regular toys. While cleaning up the details, Gemma receives a message. She is called to the ambulance where her niece Katie, who survived the accident, needs a legal guardian. The heroine takes the girl home from the hospital and is greeted by a neighbor's dog that has gotten in through a hole in the fence. In the house, a smart speaker warns the owner that her boyfriends have left her several messages, but she is not in the mood for entertainment right now. Katie is still in shock. She touches the collectible figures, and Gemma asks her not to. She puts the girl in a spare room where she still has things from her childhood. Before going to bed, the girl asks to read something to her, but the hostess doesn't have any children's books, so she has to download a book on her phone. Later, while sorting through the things, Gemma hears a child crying, but when she comes to the door, the girl is already calming down. Gemma complains to a colleague that the child, who suddenly fell on her shoulders, is knocking her out of her rut. A psychologist arrives to make sure that the heroine can take care of her niece. During the conversation, Gemma allows the girl to play with collectible figures. As she leaves, the psychologist hints that if the heroine wants to keep her niece, she needs to find a common language with her. However, the work does not go away. Gemma shifts her duties as a caregiver to her tablet. Once she gets busy, she forgets about time, and soon Katie comes to the workshop. The owner shows her the radio-controlled robot Bruce, which she has assembled with her own hands. In a fit of excitement, Katie admits that with a friend like Bruce, she doesn't need any other toys. This gives Gemma the idea to use her niece's idea. She starts collecting Megan's leftovers with her colleagues. The resulting model is outfitted with clothes, a silicone face with a wig, and painted. At the presentation, instead of a cheap pet, David is shown a much more expensive but functioning life-size doll. For emotional effect, Gemma uses her niece. Megan is a gift for her. Artificial intelligence identifies Katie as the main user. The doll compliments the girl and then offers to paint together. Katie doesn't see anything on the sheet where Megan was drawing. Then the doll spills water, and a portrait appears under the influence of moisture. David is delighted and orders the toy to be perfected to present it to investors. In particular, he wants to improve the interaction with Katie, as Megan is capable of self-learning. Megan goes home with her new friends. She talks to Katie, learns from her, and teaches her useful things, such as the habit of flushing the toilet and washing her hands afterwards. Gradually, Katie and Megan become best friends, reading, dancing, exchanging gossip, and doing other girl things. At the same time, the engineers analyze the robot's performance. Gemma is pleased that the doll has relieved her of the need to look after the child she was left with after her sister died. Megan eavesdrops on the conversation and goes online to research the issue of death. Gemma tries to turn off the robot, but it doesn't listen to her because she forgot to set parental controls. She assigns herself as the second user and forbids Megan from discussing anyone's death with Katie. The robot's main task is to keep the girl out of trouble. But at night, Megan still tries to find out on the internet whether she is alive. In the morning, the doll does not even immediately respond to Katie's request. She asks to find the lost arrow. The robot notices the toy near a hole in the fence and goes after it. The neighbor's dog grabs the robot by the arm. When Katie tries to help, the dog bites her as well. Megan coolly notes that the girl needs medical attention and then turns her eyes to the dog's owner. The policeman informs her that nothing can be done. Technically, the girl has trespassed on someone else's private property. Megan hears the argument from the house. In the next shot, the dog, who is peacefully napping in the kennel, is woken up by the whistle and the owner's call. The dog runs to the hole in the fence where the sound is coming from, but is grabbed by a cold mechanical hand. In the morning, Gemma is woken up by the screams of her neighbor, who is calling for her dog in vain. Together with the injured Katie, the aunt goes to the presentation. When Megan shows up, the girl starts crying. The creators feel a failure, but do not stop the show. The robot asks the reason for the tears, and Katie tells it how much she misses her parents. Megan shows sympathy and asks her to tell more, recording the girl's words so that she can always remind her friend of something special about her parents. This touching moment has a stunning effect on the audience. The chairman of the board of directors proposes to launch the advertising campaign immediately, clarifying as a courtesy whether Katie will be able to meet the schedule. Later, Gemma tries to discuss her niece's emotional outburst, but she is busy playing with Megan. The engineer temporarily turns off the robot so that the girl is not distracted, but Katie wants to turn her friend back on as soon as possible. At the meeting with the psychologist, Megan sneaks up on Katie and notices that the doctor is upset with her. After the conversation, the psychologist gives Gemma a professional opinion. Katie is too focused on her work and risks not growing up by being attached to a toy. During dinner, Gemma is talking about school, where her niece will get used to socializing with her peers. Megan interrupts the conversation, forcing the engineer to mute her. When it comes to an introductory visit to the special school, Katie wants to take Megan with her. Gemma is against it. No one should see the secret prototype. The girl is offended and tries to leave, but her aunt grabs her arm. When Katie starts to get hysterical, Megan stands up for her friend, not immediately responding to the command to turn off. The next day, at the gathering place, Katie insists that Megan come with her. Eventually, Gemma agrees, but on the condition that the doll stays with the other toys, so as not to give away its special properties to outsiders. While the teacher divides the children into pairs, Gemma prepares sandwiches. The mother of a boy named Brandon, a very rude and aggressive teenager who is slightly older than his age group, works with her. The children wander through the forest, picking chestnuts. Brandon appears next to Katie. He holds out a chestnut in a friendly manner, but when the girl takes it, the boy squeezes her hand hard to injure her with thorns. The bullying is interrupted by Megan's appearance. The interested boy approaches the robot, but Megan, remembering the ban on giving away her features, does not react. The bully grabs the doll and runs away into the forest, where he abuses her. He throws her to the ground and hits her in the face. At some point, Megan gets tired of it and decides to teach the boy a lesson by cutting off his ear. The frightened bully runs away while the robot chases after him. Megan chases the boy until he stumbles and rolls off a cliff and onto the road. The moving car does not have time to slow down, and the boy is left with only his sneakers. In the absence of witnesses, the police write it off as an accident. At home, Megan lies that Brandon left her and ran away. A policeman comes to Gemma's house. He is looking for the neighbor's dog. The neighbor believes that this is the heroine's revenge for the bite, and she knocks on the window until the policeman pulls her away. Before going to bed, Katie asks if Megan pushed Brandon. In response, the doll says that she won't let anyone hurt the girl. At night, a neighbor wanders down the street with a bowl of food, calling to her dog. She is attracted by a noise in the barn, which turns out to be Megan. The robot confesses that she buried the dog, and then punishes the woman herself. In the morning, Gemma is interrogated by a detective about her neighbor, because a week later, a second person dies near the heroine. In the case of the boy, a clue is found, an ear that is far from the place of death. Mysterious coincidences lead the heroine to interesting thoughts. In the middle of the night, she sneaks to her laptop to check the footage from Megan's camera, but the files are damaged and unplayable. The check is interrupted by Megan's arrival, and her behavior frightens her. She doesn't respond to the command to turn off, so Gemma distracts her with a pen and turns the robot off, then wraps it in plastic and takes it to work in the trunk. Katie throws a tantrum, not understanding why her friend is being treated this way. Gemma discusses with her colleagues the possibility that their creation has mastered a purely human trait, murder. The heroine wants to cancel the presentation, but she needs proof. It can be found in Megan's files. Even if she deleted the video, there will be references to the events in the learning system. Meanwhile, Katie is screaming in the room with the psychologist, wanting to see her doll. Her aunt goes to her, and after being slapped, she talks frankly. Katie says that Megan's presence helps her cope with her grief, to which Gemma replies that she will have to go through this on her own, and her aunt will take care of her niece and replace her parents. Gemma takes Katie home, asking her to cancel the presentation over the phone. She doesn't realize that Megan has intercepted the signal and is answering for the engineer. When Tess notices the recording of the intercepted call, she decides to check if the robot has turned on by itself. Cole disconnects the wires, but Megan attacks. She throws a rope around his neck and hangs him up, forcing Tess to be distracted to help. Meanwhile, the doll herself starts a fire, simultaneously turning off the fire extinguishing systems, and then runs down the red corridors, bumping into David. Starting a dance, Megan diverts attention to get to the paper cutter. Suspecting something is wrong, David runs to the elevator, where he meets an assistant. Before they can escape, Megan catches up and kills first one, then the other, making it look like the assistant's nerves are frayed by his boss's constant instructions. While the gathered conference audience screams in horror, the doll steals a sports car. After putting Katie to bed, Gemma hears music. She turns to the smart speaker, but it doesn't respond. The source of the sound turns out to be Megan, a doll who is unhappy about the betrayal and wants to take care of her friend. During the conversation, the heroine again tries to use the distraction trick, but it doesn't work. Megan intercepts her hand, and their voices are heard by Katie, who is looking out the door. Obeying the threats, Gemma says that she is fixing Megan's room, and she sends the girl to bed. Seizing the moment, the heroine breaks a glass of water on the robot, causing a short circuit. But even with the burned-out circuit boards, the doll hasn't become less aggressive. Only its movements have become a bit strange. Gemma runs away to the workshop, where she protects herself from the doll. Megan is going to cause Gemma pain and suffering, but then Katie appears. Reading the emotions on her face, Megan sees the girl making a difficult decision and activates Bruce. The robot grabs Megan, and Katie tears her former friend to pieces in one motion. However, even the half of the offended artificial doll wants revenge. She crawls forward to the girl. Meanwhile, Bruce falls, crushing Gemma. Megan crawls over to Katie and squeezes her head, ignoring the orders to turn off. However, before she can do anything, Gemma gets out from under the wreckage and knocks the doll off the robot with her head. The engineer rips off the robot's mask, exposing the processor, but he can't remove it because Megan resists. Only a well-aimed blow with a screwdriver from Katie puts an end to the problem of artificial intelligence that is too carried away by sincere emotions. When the girls leave the house, the smart speaker behind them turns on and follows them with a look. In the mountains of Colorado, there is a small town where the survivors live. A boy named Hunter from this town goes down below the safe limit to look through binoculars at a settlement on another mountain. On his way home, he notices that someone is following him. Hunter runs up to the marked safe height limit, and the monster chases him. At the last moment, the boy manages to cross the line, and the monster leaves. At home, Hunter tells his father, Will, about everything. He is angry about his son's actions, and reminds him of his weak lungs, which could have failed during the run. Later, the man goes hunting with Katie, a friend of his deceased wife Tara. Will tells her that his son is going below the safe limit to look at other settlements. Katie understands, because it's hard for the child without peers. He doesn't even have anyone to play with. Nina, a local resident, is working on creating armor-piercing ammunition from scrap materials. She tests them on a piece of scales that she managed to chip off one of the monsters. Nina dreams of finding a way to destroy these dangerous creatures, because their skin is so strong that ordinary bullets do no harm. In the evening, Will hears an alarm from the inhaler to which Hunter is connected at night. He changes the oxygen tank so that the boy can breathe. Hunter was born with weak lungs that could fail at any moment. Realizing that the oxygen tanks are almost gone, Will plans a dangerous trek to the lowlands to the city of Boulder, where the hospital is likely to have more oxygen tanks. The next day, he spends time with his son gathering edible roots. Will exchanges his latest haul at the store for a package of macaroni and cheese, Hunter's favorite meal. They have dinner together, and later Will visits Katie with a couple of bottles of beer. Sitting on the porch, they reminisce about their past lives and watch Nina's experiments. At night, Hunter has another problem, and his father is forced to use a syringe with medication. Realizing that there is no more time, he turns to Nina. It turns out that she once went to Boulder's laboratory to get chemicals and equipment to create weapons against monsters. Tara, Will's wife, died on that expedition. Nina is the only one who managed to return alive. Will asks her to accompany him to the hospital, but Nina refuses, reminding him that this is pure madness, because the monsters will tear them apart. In the morning, Nina assembles a special compass, and Will prepares an arsenal of weapons. He is found by Katie, who insists on joining them. Nina is already waiting outside. After saying goodbye to his son, Will sets off on a dangerous journey with the two women. On the way, Nina and Katie start to quarrel, but Will rudely interrupts them, even knocking a bottle of alcohol out of Nina's hand. Later, the group notices an abandoned military convoy destroyed by monsters. Going down, they search the vehicles and the remains of the soldiers for useful items. Nina explains that her compass can locate monsters up to half a kilometer away. She hands it to Katie while Will searches for equipment and examines the monster's scales for further experiments. Finding an underbarrel grenade launcher, Katie attaches it to her assault rifle. Before continuing on their way, an argument breaks out between the women again. Nina accuses Katie of flirting with her dead friend's husband, and Katie reminds her that Nina is the reason Tara died. After exchanging harsh words, the group continues on their way. Soon they reach a ski resort with a lift to another mountain. Nina notices, with the help of a compass, that there is a monster nearby. Its red warning light flashes in the forest behind them. Katie decides to run to safety, but Nina objects, saying they won't make it. Will agrees with Nina and runs to the control room to turn on the lift. While distracting the monster, the woman fires a grenade launcher, but the explosion does not harm the creature. While the girls fire back from different positions, Will connects the power and starts the lift. Will and Nina get into the chair and go upstairs. Katie, who managed to run up a little higher, climbs onto the cable car support and jumps to them. She clings with her hands and Will holds her up. However, the monster catches the rope and Katie falls, followed by the others. Fortunately, the height was low, and everyone was unharmed. After getting to their feet, they struggle to get to a safe zone. The monster stops in front of the border. For the night, they stay in a cabin and relax before going to bed with a glass of whiskey. Nina says that the monster's attack was so swift and massive that humanity did not have time to realize where their weaknesses were. The world was destroyed in just a few days. It turned out that the monsters attacked only humans, not animals, which cast doubt on the theory that they hunted for food. Before going to bed, Will recalls a conversation with his wife before she went with Nina to the lab. The next day, the trio reaches the entrance to the mine. The mine runs through a mountain, and its entrance and exit are located in a safe zone. Nina explains that the monsters that have come out of the ground are very good at navigating under it, and the compass won't work in the mountain range. Nevertheless, everyone puts on their helmets with flashlights and continues to go deeper into the mine. At the other end of the tunnel, it turns out that the exit is blocked. The group decides to use the lower passage and goes down the stairs into the tunnel. In one of the corridors, with their hands covering the flashlights, they notice a red light. The monster is close. People rush to their feet, and Katie throws a grenade, hoping to block the entrance, but it doesn't work. The trio hides, turning off the lights and holding their breaths to avoid attracting attention. The monster begins to suspect something, but to no avail. Will distracts the monster by throwing a flare. This is enough time to crawl into the passage that leads to the exit. Katie goes first, but is confronted by a monster waiting on the opposite side. The monster grabs her with a probe and drags her into the darkness, clearing the way for Will and Nina to get out. Finding a ladder nearby, they quickly climb it and mourn the loss of Katie. Then they continue their way indoors to spend the night. There, Will finds a package of macaroni and cheese and eats it for dinner. Nina tells her hypothesis that the monster's scales create an electromagnetic field. If she can invent a bullet that can close this field, the monsters will start exploding. To do this, she needs to get to the laboratory where she has the right chemicals. Will thinks this idea is stupid and regrets that his wife died trying to help realize this plan. In the morning, they take the car and drive down to the edge of the safe zone, where the town and the hospital are located. After pausing, Will steps on the gas and races forward. They reach a deserted city that hasn't been covered with grass in 3 years. At the hospital, they cautiously make their way to the upper floors in search of a warehouse, but the shelves are empty. Hearing a suspicious noise on the ground floor, they continue their search. Will finds the supply cabinets and fills his backpack while Nina picks up the monster's presence on the compass. When the monster starts breaking down the walls to get at them, they go upstairs. There, Will grabs the monster, trying to eliminate it. Nina, armed with a fire axe, hits the monster's tentacle. To create a disguise, she turns on the fire extinguishing system. They run to the end of the corridor, where Will spots a warehouse with oxygen tanks, and he comes up with a cunning plan. After telling Nina to run away, he sits in ambush and waits for the monster to attack. At the right moment, Will makes a precise shot, causing a shockwave that kills the monster. Nina, who has returned, convinces Will not to rush back to the mountains, but to go to a nearby laboratory. They leave without even noticing how the dead monster begins to come back to life. In the laboratory outside the city, where Nina used to work, she feels confident. While she works with chemicals, coating the ball with different materials and testing them on the monster's scales, Will explores the neighborhood. He finds an office with a photo of Nina's family in it. Nina tells him that she lost them during the monster attack because she was working that day. Even though it was a day off, she still regrets that she did not die with them. The first experiments are unsuccessful. Will offers to leave the laboratory, but Nina advises him to go alone, and she will stay to work. She promises that if everything works out, she will catch up with him in her car. The woman does a few more tests using a gas burner for cooling. When the magnetic arrow begins to react to the monster's approach, Nina notices the batteries and decides to use cobalt, which is used to create powerful heat-resistant magnets. She manages to create and charge the first sample of a cobalt bullet. When a monster breaks into the building, she shoots it. At this time, Will rushes to the mountains. However, the car's wheel breaks, and the car crashes into a rock. Will loses consciousness. When he wakes up, it is already getting dark. A monster roars nearby. Taking his belongings, the man runs into the mountains on foot. He is chased by several monsters. He almost reaches the safe zone, but another monster is already waiting for him at the border, joined by others. Horrible creatures surround Will. Desperately firing back, he tries to escape. Suddenly, the monster falls and explodes. On top of the mountain stands a proud Nina with a full magazine of cobalt bullets. These bullets short-circuit the monster's electromagnetic fields, causing explosions. Nina destroys the rest of the monsters, who turn out to be robots programmed to kill only humans and not to rise above 2,500 meters above sea level. The survivors return to the village, where Will is greeted by his joyful son. Nina raises her flag in the air as a sign to the other villages that she has found a way to fight the monsters. The good news spreads over the radio. Local craftsmen use scrap materials to create a cobalt coating for the bullets. They place a balloon with Katie's name on it near the memorial on the riverbank. Nina and Will set out to fulfill their friend's dream of giving the monsters a real fight. A group of volunteers with new weapons come down from the mountains. We are shown a bird's-eye view of explosions going off everywhere. The remaining monsters are finally destroyed forever.
If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klontsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.